Picture this. It's 2 a.m. on a Wednesday, and you're lying in bed scrolling through your bank account app for the third time tonight. Not because anything changed in the last hour, but because you're trying to figure out if you can actually afford to get your car inspected next week without overdrafting. And while you're doing this mental math, your brain is also running through the list of everything else that could possibly go wrong. What if your laptop dies? What if you get sick and miss a few days of work? What if your landlord decides to raise the rent? Sound familiar? Here's what's wild. You're not irresponsible with money. You're not out here buying designer handbags or taking luxury vacations. You go to work, you pay your bills, you even try to save a little bit when you can. But somehow, it feels like you're running on a treadmill that's set just slightly faster than you can actually run. And no matter how hard you try, you're always one bad week away from financial chaos. Now, what if I told you there's a very specific reason why everything feels so impossibly hard right now? And what if I told you there's an exact dollar amount where things start to feel fundamentally different? My name is Yaji, and I spend an unhealthy amount of time thinking about money, human psychology, and why some people seem to float through financial challenges, while others are constantly drowning in stress. And today, I want to talk about something that almost nobody explains properly. Why everything feels brutally difficult before you save your first $10,000, and what actually changes when you cross that threshold. If you've ever felt like you're the only person who can't seem to get ahead financially, or if you've wondered why saving money feels like trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in the bottom, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're about to dive deep into the psychology and mathematics of why you're not crazy. You're just stuck in a system that's designed to keep you exactly where you are. Reframe the problem. All right, so before we talk about what makes $10,000 special, we need to talk about what life actually looks like when you don't have it. And I don't mean this in some abstract financial planning way. I mean the real day-to-day experience of trying to exist without a financial cushion. You know that feeling when you're at the gas station and you're doing mental calculations about whether you should fill up the tank or just put in $20 because you need that extra money for groceries later this week? Or when your phone screen cracks and you have to decide whether you can afford to fix it, or if you're just going to deal with looking at your text messages through a spider web of broken glass for the next 6 months. This is what financial experts politely call living paycheck to paycheck. But that phrase doesn't really capture what it feels like. It feels like you're constantly playing financial whack-a-mole. You knock down one problem and 2 more pop up. You finally save $500 and then your car needs new brakes. You get a tax refund and then your tooth starts hurting and you need a root canal. But here's the thing that most people don't understand, and this is crucial. When you're living like this, you're not just stressed about money. You're actually operating in a completely different financial reality than people who have savings. It's not the same game with different scores. It's a different game with different rules, and the rules of the no savings game are absolutely brutal. The poverty premium. Let me explain what I mean. When you don't have money saved, you end up paying more for literally everything, and I'm not exaggerating. This is an actual economic concept called the poverty premium, and it's one of the most unfair things about how our financial system works. Think about car insurance. If you can afford to pay the full 6-month premium up front, you get a discount. But if you're broke and you need to pay month by month, you pay significantly more for the exact same coverage. Same car, same driver, same insurance company, but you're paying extra just because you don't have the cash up front. Or let's talk about banking fees. If you have $10,000 in your checking account, most banks will waive the monthly maintenance fee. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck and your balance dips below the minimum, boom, you're paying $12 or $15 every single month just for the privilege of having a bank account. That's $180 a year that someone with savings doesn't have to pay. Overdraft fees? Same story. You miscalculate by $8 and the bank hits you with a $35 fee. And if you overdraft on multiple transactions before you realize it, those fees stack up. I've seen people get hit with $100 in overdraft fees in a single day because they didn't realize their paycheck hadn't cleared yet. But it gets worse. When you don't have savings, you can't buy in bulk. You can't stock up when things are on sale. You have to buy the small package of toilet paper instead of the cost-effective bulk pack because you literally don't have the extra $15 right now, even though you know you're paying twice as much per roll. You can't afford to pay rent annually or even quarterly for a discount. You can't take advantage of cashback offers that require you to spend a certain amount up front. You can't invest in quality items that last longer because you can only afford the cheapest version that's going to break in 6 months and need to be replaced. This is what I mean when I say it's a different game. You're not just earning less money or saving less money. You're literally paying more for the exact same things that people with money are paying less for. And here's the psychological toll that nobody talks about. When you're stuck in this cycle, you start to internalize it. You start to believe that you're just bad with money, that you're irresponsible, that if you just had more willpower or discipline, you'd be fine. But that's not true. You're not failing because you're bad with money. You're struggling because the system is designed to extract maximum cost from people who have the least ability to pay. The mental load. Let's talk about something that's even more insidious than the poverty premium. The mental load of having no savings. Every single day, you're making hundreds of micro decisions about money. And I mean every single day. Should I buy lunch today or eat the leftovers I'm not really in the mood for? Can I afford to meet my friends for drinks on Friday, or should I make an excuse? Is it worth paying $4 for the name brand medicine? Or should I try the generic version that might not work as well? Each one of these decisions burns mental energy. And by the end of the week, you're absolutely exhausted from constantly calculating whether you can afford things. Psychologists call this decision fatigue, and it's a real thing. Every decision you make depletes a finite amount of mental energy. And when you're poor, or when you're living without savings, you're making way more financial decisions than someone who has money in the bank. The person with $10,000 saved doesn't think twice about buying the good medicine. They don't stress about meeting friends for drinks. They're not lying awake at night doing mental math about whether they can afford an oil change next week. This mental energy that you're spending on survival calculations, people with savings get to spend that energy on things that actually improve their lives. They're thinking about career development, learning new skills, building relationships, pursuing hobbies. You know, the stuff that actually makes life worth living. But when you're broke, your entire brain is consumed with just making it through the month without disaster striking. And here's something that really messed me up when I first learned about it. Financial stress literally changes your brain chemistry. Studies show that people living with financial insecurity have higher cortisol levels, which is your body's primary stress hormone. Chronic high cortisol affects your sleep, your immune system, your ability to concentrate, even your physical health. So you're not just tired because you're working hard. You're tired because your body is in a constant state of low-level panic, and that affects everything. How you perform at work, how you interact with your family, how you make decisions, how you feel about yourself. This is why I get so frustrated when people talk about poverty, like it's just a matter of making better choices. You can't make good choices when your brain is literally marinating in stress hormones 24/7. So, let's talk about what actually changes when you save your first $10,000, because this is where things get interesting. The first thing that happens is obvious but profound. You stop paying the poverty premium, or at least you pay way less of it. You can afford the 6-month insurance premium and get the discount. You can keep your bank account above the minimum balance and avoid fees. You can buy the bulk pack. You can pay your rent on time without stressing about whether the check will clear. You can afford the higher deductible on your health insurance, which means lower monthly premiums. Suddenly, life just costs less. Not because you're spending less, but because you're not being financially punished for being broke anymore. But here's where it gets really interesting, the psychological shift. When you have $10,000 in the bank, something fundamental changes in how you experience daily life. And I'm not talking about feeling rich or successful. I'm talking about something way more basic. You stop operating in survival mode. That check engine light that used to send you into a panic spiral, now it's just annoying. That notification from your dentist about a checkup, you don't dread it anymore because you know that even if there's a cavity, you can handle it. Your friend invites you to a wedding 3 states away. You can actually consider whether you want to go based on whether you like the person, not whether you can afford the trip. This shift from, can I afford this, to do I want this, is absolutely life-changing. Because for the first time, you're making decisions based on what's actually good for you, not just what you can scrape together money for. And here's something nobody tells you. When you have that financial cushion, you start taking better care of yourself. You go to the doctor when something feels wrong instead of waiting until it's an emergency. You replace your worn-out shoes instead of waiting until they're literally falling apart. You take a mental health day when you need one, instead of pushing through until you burn out. This isn't being irresponsible. This is what normal financial health looks like. But when you've been living without savings for a long time, it feels almost decadent to be able to take care of yourself proactively, instead of always being in crisis mode. This confidence thing that happens that's hard to explain unless you've experienced it. When you know you have money in the bank, you carry yourself differently. And I don't mean you become arrogant or flashy. I mean you have this quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're not desperate. You walk into a job interview differently. You negotiate salary differently. You're more willing to walk away from situations that aren't working for you because you know you're not going to be financially destroyed if things don't work out immediately. I know someone who told me that the first time they negotiated a job offer, after having $10,000 saved, they asked for $10,000 more than they normally would have. And you know what? The company agreed. Not because they suddenly became a better negotiator, but because they weren't negotiating from a place of fear. They knew that if the company said no, they'd be okay for a few months while they found something else. That extra $10,000 in salary paid for their savings in the first year, and it continues to pay dividends every single year after that. This is what financial advisors mean when they talk about opportunity cost. When you're broke, you can't afford to take opportunities. You have to take whatever you can get right now because you need money now. But when you have savings, you can actually evaluate opportunities based on their long-term potential instead of their immediate payoff. Maybe there's a certification program that costs $1,500 but could increase your earning potential by $15,000 per year. Without savings, that's impossible. With $10,000 in the bank, it's an obvious investment. Or maybe a friend wants to start a small business and is looking for a partner. Without savings, you can only wish them luck. With a financial cushion, you have the option to participate in something that could potentially change your financial trajectory. I'm not saying you should invest your entire emergency fund in speculative ventures. But having options feels completely different from having no options at all. Here's something that might blow your mind. The person with $10,000 saved is actually closer to financial independence than someone with zero savings, even if that person with zero savings is earning twice as much money. Why? Because the saver has developed the single most important skill in building wealth. And it's not investing. It's not side hustling. It's not crypto or real estate or any of that stuff. It's the ability to keep money. You probably know someone who makes six figures but is somehow always broke. They drive a $60,000 car, they live in a fancy apartment, they eat out every night, and they have absolutely nothing saved. They look successful, but they're one job loss away from complete financial disaster. And you might know someone who makes $45,000 a year but has $20,000 in the bank because they're intentional about their spending and they've built the habit of saving consistently. Who's in a better financial position? It's not even close. The person with savings has breathing room. They have options. They have the ability to handle emergencies. They're not one bad month away from financial ruin. And here's the beautiful thing. Once you save your first $10,000, the next $10,000 comes faster. And the $10,000 after that comes even faster. Not because you're suddenly making way more money, but because you've developed the habits, the mindset, and the systems that make saving automatic instead of agonizing. You've learned to distinguish between wants and needs. You've gotten good at finding ways to reduce expenses without feeling deprived. You've developed the patience to delay gratification. These skills are infinitely more valuable than the money itself, because these skills will help you build wealth no matter how much you're earning. Now, let's address the obvious question. How the hell do you actually save $10,000 when you're currently living paycheck to paycheck? I'm not going to lie to you. It's hard. If it was easy, everyone would have savings. But here's what I will tell you. It's not impossible, and understanding what you're actually working toward makes it easier to stay motivated. First, you need to get real about where your money is actually going. And I mean really real. Not like I probably spend about $100 a month on coffee, but actually tracking every single dollar for at least a month. Most people are shocked when they do this. Not because they're spending money on crazy extravagant things, but because all those little purchases add up to way more than they realize. The average American spends over $3,000 per year on dining out and convenience purchases. That's not even counting major expenses like car payments or rent. If you could redirect just a third of that towards savings, you'd have $10,000 in 3 years. I'm not saying you should never eat out or enjoy your life. But I am saying that most people have more flexibility in their budget than they think they do once they actually see where the money is going. Second, automate whatever you can, even if it's $25 per paycheck, even if it's $10. The point isn't the amount. The point is building the habit and putting that money somewhere you won't accidentally spend it. Open a separate savings account at a different bank if you have to. Something that takes an extra step to access. Because if the money is just sitting in your checking account, you will spend it. Not because you're irresponsible, but because you're human. Third, focus on plugging the leaks. Where are you paying more because you can't afford to pay less? Overdraft fees? Late fees? Paying monthly instead of annually. Those are the leaks. Plug them one at a time. And fourth, be patient with yourself. You're not going to save $10,000 in 6 months unless you're making serious money or you win the lottery. For most people, this is going to take 1 to 3 years of consistent effort. And that's okay. What matters is that you're moving in the right direction, that you're aware, that you're building. But here's the thing that nobody really talks about. The hardest part of saving money isn't the actual saving. It's becoming the type of person who saves money. Most people approach saving like it's a temporary diet. They cut expenses dramatically, save aggressively for a few months, and then burn out and go back to their old habits. But the people who successfully build savings don't think of it as a temporary sacrifice. They think of it as changing their identity. They go from being someone who spends everything they earn to being someone who keeps money. And that identity shift affects every single decision they make. When you see yourself as someone who saves, you start noticing opportunities to reduce expenses that you never saw before. You become more creative about finding additional income. You start thinking long-term instead of just focusing on getting through this week. And here's the beautiful part. Saving your first $1,000 is absolutely brutal. It requires significant lifestyle changes and constant willpower. But saving your second $1,000 is noticeably easier because you've already developed the habits and mindset. By the time you're working toward your fifth or $6,000, the process feels almost automatic. You're not fighting yourself anymore. You're just someone who saves money. It's part of who you are. Closing reflection. Look, I know how heavy it feels when you're in it, when you're trying so hard and it feels like nothing is changing. When you're doing everything right and you're still just stuck in the same place, month after month. I need you to hear this. You're not failing. The system is designed to make this hard. It's designed to extract maximum cost from people who can least afford it. It's designed to keep you in survival mode as long as possible. And the fact that you're aware of it, the fact that you're thinking about it, the fact that you're watching this video right now, that means you're already doing something most people never do. You're learning how the game actually works. And once you understand the game, you can win it. It won't happen overnight. It won't happen next month. It probably won't even happen next year. But it will happen. And when it does, when you finally hit that number and you feel that shift, you're going to look back and realize just how far you've come. Not just in dollars, in clarity, in control, in peace of mind, in the ability to make decisions based on what's actually good for you instead of what you can barely afford. That first $10,000 isn't about being rich. It's about no longer being broke. And those are two completely different things. If you're currently staring at a bank balance that looks more like a phone number from the 1950s, don't panic. Start small. Stay consistent. Forgive yourself when you mess up, because you will mess up, and that's okay. And remember that the person you become while saving your first $10,000 is infinitely more valuable than the money itself. You've got this.